Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you. Sometimes life makes you blind and you choose something bad. You just wanna cry and hide and save your face from the crowd. But sometimes life makes you see the beauty in you and me. When you look up above, there is God and there is love. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new. We're here to help you see the newness of life. We're here to help you feel your hope is so real. You got the power to see. We'll help you see the new you. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone and welcome to the new channel. We're here to help you see the new you. My name is Nicolo and I'm live streaming all the way here from Antipolo City in the Philippines. And this is the Puppet Stories. Hi everyone, today is August 2. It's the first Monday of the month. And again, we'd like to welcome you to the Puppet Stories. Here on the show, we talk about anyone or anything that has to do with puppets. That's right. Last week on the show, we had a fantastic ventriloquist. His name is Jerry Capilli, also known as Flooch. And if you missed that episode and if you want to see it, you can always watch the replay here on the new channel. Just check out the Puppet Stories playlist on Facebook and on YouTube. Today we have another special guest. That's right, special guest. She is an awesome puppeteer from Cirque de Soleil, and she is the host of her own show, the Puppet Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome live streaming all the way from Montreal, Canada, Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne. Yeah, hey, welcome to the show.
Yay! Thank you so much,
Hi,
Nicolo.
Caroline. How,
Hi.
how are you? It's so nice to see you again, this time on my show. Because if you remember a few months ago, I was on your show.
True, you were awesome. I'm so happy to interview people like you as a puppet, but has also the puppeteer behind you.
That's right. Thank you for having us on your show. And we'll talk about your show later. Right now,
Yeah.
first things first, how's the weather in Montreal, Canada? And what time is it in Canada?
So right now it's 5:30, a little bit more, and yes, it's the morning. The sun waking up, and yeah, it's beautiful. It seems to be a beautiful day without cloud, just sunny day. So yeah, it's a hot part of the year right now.
Wow. So it's hot in Canada, Montreal, Canada, and
Yeah.
it's 5:30 in the morning. Wow.
Yes, I awake to make sure I could connect with the Philippine crew and people. So I'm happy to be with you
Yeah.
too this
Well,
morning, tonight.
Caroline, this early, we'd like to thank you for being on the show. It's such a big honor for the Puppet Stories and our friends from the new channel to have you on the show. So good. That's good morning in Montreal,
I take
Canada.
my coffee.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, take your coffee so you wake up. Me, I'm about to sleep. Maybe after the show.
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's talk about Caroline. But before we ask the first question, we'll show you some pictures of Caroline Bernier-Dionne. Check this out. There you go, Caroline Bernier-Dionne. Those are really nice photos, Carol.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Okay. Now, let's ask her some questions. Carol, how did you start your career in puppetry?
This is an interesting question because actually I think Puppet choose me instead of like I choose it. It's so interesting. I was after my theater professional training as a performer. And yes, after that, I start working with a puppet company called Théâtre de la Dame de Coeur. So it's kind of a giant puppet theater. We're specialized in like oversized puppet. So I start my journey with them, and I really get spelled by the puppet. I really think it's something special because we were entertaining kids, and I really see the power of puppetry on kids. So that was the beginning, and after that, I integrate some multidisciplinary stuff to puppetry. So that was a good connection to connect stilts and puppetry, skating and puppetry, some acting as a clown with puppet. So I just mix all of my expertise all together to be a professional puppeteer and a performer.
I see, because we saw on the photos that you do skate and you use stilts and you have these big puppets, and all these you learned from the first company that you joined.
I learned like the manipulation aspect, the fact that you have to take the weight of the puppet on your shoulder and just like make it look easy, make it look fast and beautifully and with like grace and harmony. So I really learned that with them. After that, I worked with so many other company who bring me all company, all people you work with bring you some advice and some precision to your work. So that was really interesting. So I integrate after the stilts walking. I wasn't a still walker, but after skating so many years on ice, I think you kind of like get the great equilibrium to be on stilts and do puppetry and handle the crowd around you, because it's often street performance, especially right now with COVID. We are in streets and we find the public where we are.
That's
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting, Caroline. Now, you said that you think you said earlier that you think puppetry chose you instead of you choosing puppetry. Does this mean when you joined the first company that you were telling us about earlier, you didn't exactly join as a puppeteer?
Yes, I joined more to be an entertainer, like to go in school to do. We call it mediation, like mediation, or like you're kind of the person who introduce the kids to the company or to shows, or so you go in schools in summer camp and you bring puppets and you just I feel you educate the spectators, your future spectators, to what the company do. So that was the job actually. But after that, I get to integrate shows with them and just like perform as a professional puppeteers on stage. And this was a really an interesting connection. But I really enjoy also this aspect of educating the public outside of a performance.
Yeah, because Caroline, I'm sure you'll agree with me that puppetry is a very, very strong tool for teaching, especially the children. And
Yes.
wait a minute. Now I'd like to ask you, who inspired you? I mean, you did say that puppetry chose you, but somebody or something must have inspired you.
Yes, I always tell this anecdote about this. We were a summer morning with children in the theater, and I feel it's it's interesting. It's not the puppeteer, and it's Louis Armstrong who were playing Wonderful World, and we were doing a puppet like choreography with kids on that song, and it was really like a moment of like, wow, okay, those puppet could bring peace on earth. I was like really believing that this could change the world and yes, make a difference with art and with this connection. I feel like the children can manipulate a puppet all together and they make it as a team. So this is really interesting to observe. But for sure, I get some influence after that. I'm a Dark Crystal fan. I love Jim Henson work. I really enjoy also what the TV, production in the movies, and so for sure all of that influenced me. And also on stage, we have so much wonderful company here in Montreal who do a great puppetry job. So I really get inspired with like all of those artists.
That's right. Caroline, you mentioned Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're familiar with Sesame Street and the Muppet Show?
Yes, and it's funny because I'm French. I speak French, and we didn't get all the Sesame Street stuff in French because it's an English show. So it's funny how to look at Sesame Street was to learn your English. Like, watch this show, you will learn English. And yeah, so for me, I wasn't watching that much when I was a kid, but I know that puppetry and puppet show have influence on me. We have like a local show also on TV here that is really famous in the area. So I think this is also part of the influence.
I see. Well, that's very, very interesting, Caroline. Okay, now, Carol, you're with Cirque de Soleil. Let me see. What kinds of puppets do you use for that particular part of your career in Cirque de Soleil?
Yes, this was kind of a dream come true. I always want to integrate skating and puppetry. So it's actually a giant puppet. It's a robot dog. It's a giant robot dog that I manipulate on skate, on ice. And I'm skating with the puppet and I make it move. And it's funny because you have a camera in his face. So I can go in the crowd and film, like, those like funny camera things that in football or baseball that you can have, like the kiss cam. So the spectator was like kissing, but this was the puppet choice. So it was really interesting to be this crowd entertainer at the beginning of the show. And yes, just have also a number. So I've done a number of it's kind of a magic tricks at the same time. You maybe saw some stuff on American Got Talent or some puppet like this. So it's a puppet that you manipulate on your back actually, and you are two character. So this was an interesting number to do on ice because I think it was kind of new to bring that puppetry on ice. So that was the two puppet that I was doing in that show.
And Caroline, are these puppets have they been on Cirque du Soleil even before you entered the group? I mean, even before you joined the group, or is it your idea?
Actually, they approached me to do that puppet things. They were searching for puppeteers who know how to skate. So they look it in their database, and I pop as a puppeteer and figure skater. So I think we were not a lot of people who can combine all of that. So we build. I didn't build the puppet, but we build as a creative process what is the possibilities, what we need, and so I was part of this creation to make that possible. Yes.
That's right. So you can safely say that it's somehow a product of your imagination as a puppeteer and as a skater. Because I can imagine, and I've seen photos of you manipulating that puppet. You were ice skating and manipulating this big dog, and I didn't realize there's a camera on the dog. So it's something I'd like to check again. Maybe do you have videos of it somewhere on YouTube or something?
Yes, I have pictures that you can see because we were projecting the camera stuff on a big screen on kind of LED. It's a lot of technology in Cirque, we have a lot of resource. So
Right.
I have some pictures, so maybe I can send some to you so you can watch this kind of
Yeah.
camera stuff.
Actually, I've seen some photos, but I didn't realize there's a camera. So some photos of the camera footage would be
Yeah.
actually very nice.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
we were doing the video prep at the beginning, so I was like looking in the camera, and you looked me in on the big screen, so it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah. All right. Now about Cirque du Soleil. It's a very, very prestigious company, and they have different kinds of performers, from magicians to acrobats. I believe they have jugglers, clowns, and of course puppeteers. How's the experience of being part of this prestigious company?
How it was really amazing. I think I talk it in the past, because for now we are not on the road. They have project to bring the show back on the road, but I cannot talk for the company. They have many things to handle to make that possible. So yeah, to be part of that, as like to receive the call on this morning, was really interesting to say like, okay, so you could, we want you in that show, and I'm just like, wow, okay, this is so like a dream come true, because I was saying that from my childhood, that one day I would work over there. So that was really an interesting moment. But I could say that yes, it's really interesting to be part of this international artistic community, because they go to grab artists from all over the world. So we were from 23 countries. So from 23 countries coming all together and to make that show possible was really interesting, with a lot of talent, all over, like the Mexican guy who spin on the table, and this Russian crew who skate together, and it was really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, I can imagine when you said it's dream come true, because to be part of Cirque du Soleil. Wow. I hope I can be part of Cirque du Soleil in the future. By any chance, is the company looking for a cute puppet? Yeah. No, too bad.
Maybe at some point we will have some extended project to bring more puppetry in that company. Is also really an interesting challenge, to bring puppetry to an international crowd, and to make it like believe that puppet is something like that people will enjoy a lot. So it's really a work of like making like the dissemination of puppetry also.
Right. Carol, we were in Japan in 20, let me see, let me try to remember, 2016. And we saw this big tent of Cirque du Soleil. We didn't actually see it because it's kind of expensive, but and when we were there, it was still too early to actually watch the show. We were there lunchtime. I think the theater opens at around 6 or 7, and they had a very, very big tent in Japan. It was in Tokyo. And Cirque du Soleil also went to Manila a few years ago. Too bad I didn't see it, but it's always been a dream of mine to be a part of it. Maybe as a puppeteer, just like you. So you're inspiring me to work harder and somehow, somewhere, be
Yeah.
part of Cirque du Soleil. Wow,
Yeah.
dream. All
Yeah.
right. Caroline, what about your most exciting moment as a puppeteer? Not exactly with Cirque du Soleil, but any exciting moment you can remember as a puppeteer.
I think it's funny because we just came back from a big festival, and it's so funny because right now, like with the COVID, we were not allowed to perform, but now we are back in street performance, let's say. So I feel just that, to be able to see the public again. I do. And you saw some picture of it just in the beginning. Those big giant birds that you were like we were doing, and they are under like lights. But we also bring a new show to life over there in this festival. It's an international festival, but for COVID, we make a kind of a the focus was on the local development. So it was so great to put this big giant fish. Maybe you saw it on my social media. If you are curious, you can have a look on my Facebook account. You just put my name and you will see this big giant fish. We will I was on stilts and we were like just putting this costume and this music and this like juggler and singer with me, bringing like with three person, four character with this big fish. We bring that all together, and it was kind of a really interesting moment because the director said some stuff to us, but at the end, it's us who make it go all together. And this is always really really fun to bring the show to life to the audience for the first time. I really feel that moment is so precious because you work so hard on the puppet and you bring the work of all that crew who build this puppet, this costume, and you just bring the follow spot on it, and pictures, and people are so excited to see something new, something that they never have saw before, like this big giant fish. I think it's kind of a new thing to bring to the crowd. So that was really a great, exciting moment to bring that to life.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting and it sounds like a whole lot of fun, Caroline. Okay, now after the your most exciting moment as a puppeteer, I hope you don't mind. Do you have some embarrassing moments as a puppeteer as well?
Yes, for sure. We all have some embarrassing moment because puppetry is object who move, and sometimes object experience times and life and like shows, and when they have play a lot, some stuff start to fall apart. So I remember to lose the head of my puppet. So
Oh
it's
my goodness, you lost the head of your puppet. What happened?
Oh, it's just an anecdote. It was at the end of a number, and it's funny. The head, like I think the neck was some aluminium part, and I was moving the head every day, a few hours a day like this, and at some point, just
Yeah.
the metal broke, so the head just like poof. So it was not life and death stuff, but yes, it's kind of like I go out of stage and we handle that for the next scene, and it was fine, but so embarrassing and interesting at the same time.
Embarrassing and interesting, but
Yeah.
as they say, the show must go on. So you probably figured out a way to fix it and come back to the stage as fast as you can, and exactly what puppeteers do all the time. Well, not all the time, but when some glitches happen.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Now, Caroline, puppetry, without a doubt, is inspiring and it's a powerful tool for teaching. But how do you find it as a form of livelihood in Montreal, Canada?
I find it it's so interesting because I do a podcast, so I ask this question all the time to puppeteers, and we always bring this magical terms to define puppetry, like something like to bring life to the inanimate. And so I feel, yeah, I don't know if I answer quite of the question, but I really feel this magical aspect is also really powerful. And I feel also on your show you bring some magical, some hope about life, and it's an object who moves, so it's something inanimate, something like that, who have life after you decided into it, and it's really really powerful. And it's so great that you bring the comment of the people who are watching right now. So cool
Yeah,
to discover
yeah,
all of those people.
Yeah, we'll try to read a few of the comments here. We'd like to start with our producer, Miss Apple Madansala. Exactly. The show must go on. Hands down, Tito Wanlu. And of course, she's referring to you, Caroline. And she also said, good afternoon. Nicolo, regards to Tito Wanlu. All right. Okay. One of our hosts here on the new channel said, Chino, that's Chino. There we go. I've seen two Cirque de Soleil shows. Saltimbanco here in
Yeah.
Manila and Amaluna in London. I'm an avid fan. Wow.
Yes, this is yeah, those are really good show also. Those creation are really amazing.
I also saw Amaluna in London when I was not there. Okay, anyway, uh, Janelle De La Cruz Vasquez said, "Hi, Miss Caroline. You're so pretty." Oh, I
Oh, thank you, Janelle. I'm in the my morning mood.
watching from Taguig. Hello, Nicolo. Hello, John Cruz. Wow. All
Mm.
right, Caroline. We have one more here. Viviana Garcia Melendez. You are both amazing. Yay! Thank you, Vivian. All right, Caroline, before we ask you about your own show, the Puppet Podcast, we'll take a quick gap first. When we return, we'll talk about Puppet Podcast. Don't leave, everyone. We'll be right back with Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne from Montreal, Canada. Don't leave. Alrighty, welcome back to the Puppet Stories here on the new channel. We are still with our very, very special guest from Cirque de Soleil, and she has her own show, the Puppet Podcast, Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne. But before we call her back, Tito Wanlu has this virtual puppet and magic show. If you have parties or events coming up, please check out this virtual puppet and magic show by Tito Wanlu.
Tell everyone who the orangutan is.
You're the orangutan.
Rangu, I'm going to place you back inside your case if you don't tell everyone who the orangutan is. Who's the orangutan?
Oh, okay. I'm the orangutan.
Very good, Rangu. Who's the orangutan?
I'm the orangutan.
Very good.
You're the monkey.
Wrong king.
Wrong king?
Wrong king.
Okay. Now I remember.
What's your name?
My name is Burger.
Burger?
Burger King.
Although birds are extinct.
I don't stink. You stink.
I didn't say stink, I said extinct. Extinct means their species no longer exist. There are no dodo birds. All right, there we go. Happy birthday, birthday girl. Okay, everybody smile for the camera with Micaela. Wow. Hey,
There you go, Tito Wanlu's virtual puppet and magic show for your party, especially now that it's ECQ again here in NCR, right? Okay, we'd like to invite you to please watch all our shows, live or replays here on the new channels, such as U-Turn, TNC The Talk, Awesome Day, The Home Buyer, The Big Picture Mondays and Fridays 7:15 p.m., The Millennial Voice Mondays at 8:30 p.m., Foreign Affairs, HR Hotline Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays 12 noon. Moving on business. Well home. Mental shift. Tuesdays 7:30 p.m. USA. Wednesdays 9:30 a.m. Philippines. Money and more. Tuesdays 8:30 p.m. Philippines and 5:30 a.m. USA. Cyber next. And of course, the Puppet Stories Mondays 5:30 p.m. Check out our page on Facebook or YouTube by searching hashtag TNC now. Enjoy these inspiring shows because we made them for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back on the show. Live streaming all the way from Montreal, Canada, Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, hello.
All right, now I'm so excited to talk about your Puppet podcast because a few months ago, ladies and gentlemen, it was the other way around. It was early evening in Montreal and it was early morning in the Philippines, and we were on her show. And it's a very, very interesting and exciting show because Caroline interviews the best of the best in the world of puppetry. Tell us about your puppet podcast, Caroline.
Yes, it's an interesting show because the beginning of it was also really interesting, but mainly I focused to interview people of the puppet community. And at the beginning, it was a bit like US Canada thing. But when the pandemic, we really expanded to international scene, to international artists from all over. So it's a show, a podcast where I interview puppeteers from all over the world, but with all practices. Like some people have do movies, some puppeteers are more specialized in theater, in string puppet, the other are specialized in Muppet things, Muppet as Jim Henson Company puppeteers. So I really expanded, and it's so funny because we present in French, English, Spanish, Portuguese. Like we have those translators who help me to make the show in English or in French to make sure I could like put this message to all people. So yes, it's always the same question about passion, I think, and you do kind of something similar to bring inspiration, to bring passion to people. And I think people, when they start talking of puppetry, their eyes start shining. It's like something spiritual connect with that. It's kind of like the mission of a puppeteer to bring the puppet to the audience. And it's so interesting to have all of those guests to the show. And especially ventriloquists also are part of puppetry practice. So it's really interesting to interview from London, from US, from Philippines, to have all puppeteers. Really, really a lot of talent in puppetry world around this world. Yeah.
That's right. And Caroline, we always watch your show. I don't know if you notice, but we always say watching from the Philippines in the
That's
comment.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bring it in the screen, and it's so great to have you on watching the show also.
Some of our friends, our common friends, have been on your show, like Steve Axtell from
Yeah.
Axtell Expressions. You remember Satyajit Ramdas Padye from India
Yes.
on your show, and another good friend of mine. Let me see, Frankio from Singapore
Yes.
was also on your show. So we have common friends who have also they've been here on the Puppet Stories as well. The three of them, and just to tell you a little bit of trivia, Caroline, your show inspired us. That's right. Your show inspired us, especially uh, like next week, we will be featuring puppeteers from Laos. It's a country in Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, there's a little language barrier. So your show inspired us to get an interpreter. That's right. That's the basic solution. If there's a language barrier, then get an interpreter. So next week we will have our friends from Laos, and we will have an interpreter from Thailand. And that idea was inspired by your puppet.
Wow. I'm
Thank you.
happy because this is the mission of the show also to inspire others. And it's so great to see that people use platform like StreamYards to bring that show all together, those online platform to do shows like and bring it on social media. So I'm really happy to hear that this evening.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, aside from our common friends, Steve Axtell,
Mhm.
Frank Hill, and Ram Daspadia Satyajit, who else have been on your show who you can say have big names in the world of puppetry?
Yeah, I could bring this crew of the Muppet. I interview Tyler Bunch and Pamasiero, who are actually right now performing on Sesame Street. But I also get Dave Chapman, who is in Dark Crystal, who were performing in the series on Netflix. And I get also Misty, who is not a puppeteer, but actually we discovered that we have like puppet bodysuit performer, not like bodysuit performer as a name of a profession instead of puppeteers, because the puppeteer was manipulating the face and all of those kind of other things who were moving electronically. So Misty Rosas, who were also part of the show, and she was in Star Wars. So yeah, those are kind of the four name I have in mind. But we interview so many people, I forget a lot of people. We have also someone who is kind of known on YouTube is Adam Kritinger, and you have his YouTube channel. So it was good to just connect our channel and make our audience see the work of each other. And he's a builder, so he have a lot of tricks and tips on his channel about building puppetry. But yes, those are kind of the people I love to bring the follow spot on. And yeah, you have many more. I'm kind of have 100 episode more. So
Wow,
I have
really?
many people.
More than 100 episodes, and you've interviewed puppeteers from all over the world: Mexico,
Yeah.
USA, Canada.
Brazil, also Brazil. I get the Brazilian Elmo, in Sesame
Yeah,
Street. It's
wow.
a woman actually, and yeah,
Singapore, India, Philippines, of course,
yeah,
and wow, puppeteers from all over the world. It's
yeah.
a very, very interesting show. It's a puppet podcast with Carol BD, and it's on Facebook and on YouTube, right?
Yes, yes. So have a
Okay,
look.
yeah, we will. I'm sure our friends who are watching will definitely watch and check out Puppet Podcast with Carol BD. But Carol, where did you get the idea of a Puppet Podcast? I mean, are you interested to find out more about puppetry? Or what actually is the reason why you did the show?
I'm it was actually a challenge. I'm a passionate person and I really love people and discover their passion. So it's actually with my fiance who we started that together. He challenged me because I was starting the touring with Cirque, and I will like disconnect with the community a bit. You know, when you are in this touring life, you see so much of the world, but at the same time, you want to stay connected with social media. It's possible. So he
Right.
challenged me to do this podcast from my hotel room. So I was like, and at the same time, I go also on the field to meet puppeteers. So I was interviewing people at their studio, at their workshop when I was touring. And when the pandemic hit, that was the thing. We just put the channel to next level. We were just like, who we can reach? Maybe we
Right.
can get this Hispanic community. So let's go to search for Hispanic puppeteers from Brazilian and Europe and France. And so we start our journey to connect
And it
with.
and you know what, Carol? It probably stopped. You probably stopped looking for puppeteers because puppeteers started to ask you to have them on your show.
Yeah, that was great also to see the reverse of it and see people who actually are in that niche, the puppetry niche. It's kind of like specific, but to have people who really reach to us like, yeah, you can interview me. And so yeah, at some point the list is start to be longer and longer, and we realize we have so much to do and keep going.
That's true. And puppeteers are actually lining up to be on your show, Caroline. So congratulations to
Thank
you,
you.
your fiance, and to Puppet Podcast. All right, Caroline. Before we take a break, we'd like to remind you we'll have our second gap. When we return, we will ask you a question that we ask all the guests on the show. And that is, what is your puppet story? Okay, but that's after the gap. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't leave. We will be right back with Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne from Cirque de Soleil in Montreal, Canada. Don't leave. Alrighty, welcome back to the Puppet Stories here on the new channel. We are still with a very, very special guest from Cirque de Soleil in Montreal, Canada. But before we ask her the question, the most important question here on the show, which is what is her puppet story, we'd like to invite you to watch all the other shows here on the new channel. Healthline, Couple Goals, Win Within. We also have Market Leader, TNC Express, Yo Law, Thursdays 8:30 p.m., Negosyo at Home, Tech U, TNC Marketplace, Fridays and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. We also have COVID Stories, Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Realty, Reality, Saturdays at 4 p.m. Danny Art Show, After Shift, Women at Work, The Family Business, Usapang Beauty, The Fourth project. Catch also our TNC specials one day, TNC Arena, TNC PressCon, and TNC Town Hall, Saturday, 7 p.m., co-hosted by TNC founders and Lloyd and Apple. Town Hall is where we talk to you, our valued audience. More upcoming shows. Follow hashtag TNC Now on Facebook and on YouTube. Allow your passion to inspire you, and together, let us see the new you. All right. Please welcome back on the show, Miss Caroline Bernier-Dionne from Montreal, Canada. Yay! Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Caroline.
Yes.
All right. Before we ask you about before we ask you the most important question on the show, which is what is your puppet story? Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the Puppet Podcast?
Um, Actually, we have this Patreon thing that we start also. I don't know if you're familiar with Patreon, but it's a big community of artists who put this together to bring some art to an audience, actually, and get some money in exchange from it. So we do those online workshop. So this is part of the Puppet podcast journey. We meet puppeteers, but sometimes we want to have more of them, and we want them to share their knowledge with the community. So you can go to have a look on that. It's on patreon.com/puppet podcast. And you could see some workshop about puppet building if you're curious about the building aspect of it, or on writing, how to write a great puppet story, or like we have many great puppeteers who bring their knowledge. So about branding of a puppet company, about yes, also those products that you can do online, such as workshop that you can organize for audience, and also like birthday message and some cameo you can do. So it's really good to have this database of knowledge and offering it to a community. So yeah, have a look on that Patreon. So this is my little publicity thing that
Yeah.
I want to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline. So that's patreon.com/puppet podcast. And you do workshops about puppetry, and not just puppetry, but other arts connected to puppetry, such as script writing
Yeah.
and puppet making and manipulation, and a whole lot of stuff. Very, very interesting.
Yes.
All right. Now, Caroline, we'd like to ask you this question, which we ask all the guests on the show. Caroline Bernier-Dionne, what is your puppet story?
This is so interesting because I kind of try to understand the question, because I feel you have many layers on this puppet story. Like me as a puppet, but also a puppeteer. But as a puppet, I'm an interpreter. Actually, I'm doing theater in street, on stage, on the camera. And it's funny to see that at some point I realized when I was doing puppetry, it was make me like realize that we can be like kind of outside of ourselves. You see, when you and you maybe have experienced that at home, like when you do something, and at some point you're able to look at you doing it, like from an outside viewpoint. And it's so interesting because I experienced that with a company. I was doing a little girl, a little puppet, but at the same time I was manipulating and make her cry and make her have so much emotion because she experienced like like things of life, losing a cat, or like lose a cat, or things like that, or a friend. And at some point I like just see that we are kind of the puppet of ourselves. And it could look a bit metaphysical at some point, but it's so interesting at the same time that if you can view life from an outside viewpoint, you are less like connect and just have your problem in your face. So for me, my puppet story, it's kind of that, I could say, I to do a puppetry makes me also to sometimes like take it more easily, like in life, to see that we not that we are puppet, but you can do a lot of philosophy on that aspect. You are a soul and you operate your body, and you make action and production and stuff going on, but you can be outside of like the scene and actually write the show, and at some point you play it, but you can go from those viewpoints. And for me, puppetry make this awareness possible. So when I'm talking to an audience, I often make a reference to that, like this aspect that you watch the puppet, you make your intention go through it, and you look at the crew and you make the puppet look at you, and those make people laugh because it's kind of some truth about life. And I think this is kind of my deep realization in this puppetry world, that I understand more of life by doing my job, actually.
All righty, that was very well said, Caroline, and that was so deep. All right, and again, that was very well said. So, cheers! All right. Thank you very much, Caroline, for being on the show. It's such a great pleasure, such a great honor for us to have you on the Puppet Stories. Before we say goodbye, is there anything else you'd like to add? Especially, probably you can just uh, in ask or invite everyone to your Puppet podcast one more time.
Yes, I want to invite everyone to watch the channel on YouTube, but also you can maybe follow me on Instagram, because I put a lot of stuff of like my actual shows that I'm working on, and I'm doing a lot of different projects. So at the same time, sometimes people, I'm just like, oh, I have difficulties to tracking. You have so many projects, because I think that's the way to survive as an artist, as a puppeteer. It's to have the handful of project, and you can juggle with all of those skills that you have. It's like music. You play all of those songs, you play all of those shows, and you perform. So you can have a look on this Instagram. So yeah, if you look Puppet Podcast and my name on Google, you will find. That's why I have this long name. I'm just by myself doing all of that long name stuff. So yeah, put that together on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Caroline.
Yeah, and thank you for your time and your work. I really appreciate to be part of this. I think it's wonderful to bring positivity, especially right now, and passion to audience. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for being on the show. The pleasure and the honor is actually on us because, we've been following Puppet Podcast for the longest time, and it's one of our dreams to have you on the show. So, again, the pleasure is all ours. So, thank you, Caroline, for being on the Puppet Stories here on the new channel. Thank you,
Thank
Caroline.
you. Bye. Have a good night and day.
And you can have breakfast already in Montreal.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye, Caroline.
Bye.
All right, that was Caroline Bernier-Dionne from Cirque de Soleil in Montreal, Canada. Wow, such a great honor and pleasure to have her on the show. Uh, Before we end the show, naubusan na ako ng English, Tito Wanlu. Ang hirap pala nun, medyo nosebleed. Pero just in time, we still have enough, just enough to invite you to please join us next week on the Puppet Stories. We will have the Kabong Lao, that's the Laos National Puppetry Troupe, on the show. There's a slight language barrier, but we learned from Carol that there's no such thing as language barrier because we found an interpreter from Thailand. Mr. Stephen Thomas will be on the show to help us communicate with our awesome friends from the Lao National Puppetry Troupe. That will be Vancy and Lemty. We've been with them on several puppetry festivals in Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Asian festival, Southeast Asian festivals. So it would be very, very nice to see them again, this time on the Puppet Stories. All right, before we end the show, we'd like to invite everyone because IVS Philippines is now ready to accept applicants for new members. Okay, that's International Ventriloquist Society Philippines. We are now accepting new members. And paalala po ni Kuya, huwag mong sikaping maging mabuti ka sa paningin ng iba. Ang sikapin mo, maging mabuti ka sa paningin ng Diyos. A message from Kuya Daniel Rason. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our producers, Sir Lloyd Luna and Miss Apple Manansala, and our awesome director, Direct Hershey, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon. Or is it evening already? All right. In this episode. So we'll see you again next week, God willing. Okay? Hanggang dyan na lang po English ko. All right. Bye, everyone. See you next week. God willing. Bye.